often say that New Year's Day is the International Day for reflecting on the time that has passed and planning for the time to come. We must value this International Day because reflection and planning are two extremely necessary things so that our time can flow in a way that it is not entirely wasted, that it leaves us with something useful, that it generates true growth, expansion of consciousness, which is what we came here to seek. Do not fall into that intellectualization that a time we measure as a year is worth nothing because each people has its own calendar. Okay, but the thing is, we need to understand that psychological facts are just as real, if not more so, than physical facts. It doesn't matter that each person measures time in a different way. What matters is that all people recognize that there are cycles in our lives, and that with each cycle that ends, it is necessary to evaluate the time that has passed because it means that our life has gone through a significant period of time. We, in the case of Western peoples in general, measure this with the passing of the 4 seasons, and this is important. We know that nature has completed a full cycle there, and then we begin to redo our planning for the next cycle, to redo our planning of what we will do with the time from then on. Always considering that a year is not a short time, considering that we have a life where we live only a few decades. There aren't that many. Therefore, we cannot waste a year. It's too much to lose. So, I suggest that when you reflect and plan, you take into consideration some of these topics that I am suggesting to you. These are topics that I use in my own reflection and in my own planning. Shall we go? First of all, in reflecting on the year that has passed, I suggest that you think about the following. First, check how much you have learned this year. In other words, what are the things you didn't know about life that you know now? How to deal with people. About how to deal with oneself, about how to withstand adversity, about how not to be dominated by pride, vanity, anger, how not to let these elements go to your head. So, what life lesson did you learn this year? What made you grow this year? What wisdom did you gather in the past year? This is the main reflection. Secondly, ask yourself, check if there is still any account that hasn't been closed. In other words, something that remains to be synthesized and learned. What is an account that hasn't been closed? It was some adversity you experienced, which you refused to learn from. He was so hurt, so wounded, so shaken by it, that he didn't even want to think about it anymore. It's important that you take this adversity and realize that it was tough, it was difficult, but it also taught you many things. Focus on the good that she gave you. Stick with it. And close the account. I paid such a price and got such a thing, therefore I close the account on that. I won't drag this process throughout my life. I won't leave this loose end in my future. This is closed. It was expensive, but it gave me very good things. So, near where I grew up, it was well paid. I closed the account with the past. Close the account on all unresolved situations from the year, so you don't carry over any pending issues into the future. Pending issues that can tie you to the past in a way that greatly slows your progress. So, close the accounts for the year 2024. What else? As a third element for reflection, see if there is any forgiveness you haven't granted or haven't asked for. In other words, someone asked you for forgiveness and you didn't give it, you said no. Or you stopped asking for forgiveness from someone. This is also a way to settle accounts with the past. Recognize our mistakes and ask people for forgiveness. Apologize for them, no matter how much time has passed. Use exactly the fact that you are reflecting on the year to make this an opportunity to make amends. Retract yourself, ask for forgiveness for the mistakes made, and grant forgiveness to those people who made mistakes, considering that you yourself have made them and that we are all human and that we are all fighting against the same shadows, against the same factors, and that it may happen that we are defeated from time to time. So grant forgiveness, ask for forgiveness, close those emotional accounts with this year as well, to walk confidently into the future. What else is important to reflect on? Check if you have learned to love someone more than you already did. Notice that our ultimate intention as human beings is to one day have all of humanity within our hearts. Our love has a vocation for expansion. It should always be expanding and encompassing a larger group of people. Our heart has no limitations. It is we who believe it has limitations. Inside it fits all of humanity. Throughout this year, besides those I already loved, I extended my spectrum of love, meaning I love one more person, another. I learned to love someone else. I expanded my heart this year. If you haven't, it's a good time to do it now, so that this cycle doesn't close without you having developed a bond with someone. A bond of gratitude, of affection, that transforms into a loving feeling. Extending your heart every year is extremely necessary. What else can we reflect on? See if you've ever stopped to observe and admire nature. This is also part of it. It is extremely necessary for us to respect nature and to respect our own human nature. Because nature does us tremendous good, it harmonizes us, it purifies us, it detoxifies us. What moment did I stop to look at her, learn from her about the harmony of differences, her beauty in the details, her ability to follow the Dharma perfectly, doing everything that is her own, not deviating at any moment? What could I appreciate, observe, and learn from nature? How much affection was I able to give and receive? Reflect on this. If you don't remember any circumstances like this, do it now. Have contact with nature, reflect on it, dialogue with it, learn, express feelings. And this is also something that should always be present in all the cycles of our life. These are some reflections in various fields for you to reflect on the quality of your year. Don't forget to do them one by one. All of them are very valid. And then comes the question of planning. What would be interesting for you to plan for the next cycle? First of all, leave this new year greater than you entered, having the discipline to. In other words, you will aim to come out of the next year greater than you are entering it now, having the discipline to accomplish certain things. Discipline, remember that it is a fundamental element for you to plan to have. It is through discipline that you make it possible for new things to enter your life. Discipline organizes, puts everything in its place, and allows air to circulate, oxygen to flow, enabling breathing, life, and renewal within your physical, psychological, moral, and spiritual life. It is through discipline that we take care of all our bodies. So let's have the discipline to, first of all, observe and correct our mistakes, be attentive, reflect on my day every day, and not let mistakes go unnoticed, as they say today, popularly, without realizing where we went wrong. In other words, every day a reflection on our day, which allows us to observe and make a pact with ourselves, not to make the same mistake again on that same subject, not to fall into that same error again, not to fall into the same pitfalls we have already encountered. In other words, not letting mistakes go unnoticed. I have the discipline to do this assessment every day. Secondly, discipline to observe others' feelings and be empathetic with them. In other words, not going unnoticed by people. Look into people's eyes when you greet them. Feel a bit of people's emotions. Share your feelings with them. Make this exchange and be empathetic with the state of mind that each person has. Show affection to those who are down, attention to those who seem insecure. In other words, that I practice empathy this year. Feel the emotions of others and be empathetic with them. Respond to these feelings in the best possible way, so that I don't pass coldly by people this year. Let there be a sharing of the heart. What else? May I be with nature, harmonize with it, and respect it. In other words, that I have the opportunity to interact with nature, preferably on a regular basis. I don't know, maybe once a week. Being in touch with nature, in that space that is closest to you. Walk around it, take a deep breath, feel a little. The earth beneath your feet, feel the energy that emanates from it, exchange energies with it, love it, respect it, all these things that are so vital and so necessary for all of us. What more can we do in terms of planning for this upcoming year of ours? Well, according to necessary planning, plan generosity, not just gains. What we usually plan: I want to buy a house, I want to take a trip. You are only planning what you want to gain. Also plan what you want to give. I want to give more attention to that person. I want to give more time regarding the other one. I want to give more time to such an activity. I want to give more quality of feelings to these people with whom I live. I want to pay more attention. I want to give financial help to someone. In other words, plan for generosity and not just possession. This is fundamental for our year to have balance. And in the end, as we have said so many times, a person is as big as their generosity. Nature will increasingly demand more commitment from us. And dedication is one of the fundamental meanings of life. May everything that we are be somehow available for the needs of nature, which demands much more of who we are than what we have. We must learn to act, to give justly in the material field, to give justly in all fields, but not to be stingy in the psychological, moral, and spiritual field. What else do we have planned? Include humanity among those we intend to benefit. Something for the benefit of humanity. In other words, a little more concern about what is happening with her. A little more care, trying to think of the pain, the need of all human beings as our own problem. A little more empathy. A little more willingness to be somehow useful, a deep desire for my life to contribute to minimizing these pains of humanity, that is, to place humanity within my lists of responsibility, commitment, concern, in such a way that my heart is not just with a handful of human beings, but a little with all of humanity. What else? Seek to correct the world's evils when they reflect in your life. In other words, why is the world ending? By hatred. What can I do about it? I will put an end to the hatred that exists within my life. I will fight it hard. Because if there is no longer hatred in me, there is less hatred in humanity. The competition is ending, decimating people, with some wanting to climb over others. I will put an end to this spirit of competition in my life. I will be attentive to him. I won't do anything motivated by him. If I control this in my life, humanity will have a better chance. I am one less person on this list, and I can be an example of transformation. In other words, understand what problems exist in the world. See how this problem is reflected in your life and take responsibility for combating it. This way you help the world combat it. Thus, you align yourself with the forces of nature that combat all the evil that exists in the world. When you leave the field of evils, when you stop playing from the opponent's field, when you don't give the energy of your life to these evils, in other words, it doesn't contribute to them, to their life. So I will commit myself to overcoming in my life that which the world is being defeated by. What else? Desire goodness above all else. I wish, if I make a list of the things I want most this year, I want this, that, the house, the trip, the car, but above all, I want to become a kinder person. I want that by the turn of the next year, I have more kindness in my heart. I want to have a will to benefit people, an intense desire, so great that it aches within my heart because it cannot fit inside. It's so immense. A great will to benefit, to bring good to the world, to make the world a better place, to ensure that people are better off, in other words, to have more kindness in my heart. May this be my main pursuit. My main, or perhaps my only ambition, is to want to be kinder than I am today, because this is a case of an absolutely legitimate ambition. Recognize and encourage the qualities of others. This year, I won't just be pointing out other people's flaws. Preferably, if I can, I won't even point them out. But I will recognize and reinforce the qualities of the people around me. every time you do something good. I will tell them, like you did something good, how great that was, how beautiful your way of doing such a thing is, how good the way you position yourself in the group is, how nice it was for you to say that to such a person. In other words, I will recognize and value what people have that is positive, because in doing so, I am aligning myself with them in their struggle against their own shortcomings. Instead of highlighting the enemy field, which are the evils, I highlight the friendly field, which are the goods. So I join her to fight against her flaws. I reinforce what she has that is positive, authentic, her own. Because we are the kindness that exists within us. This is our deepest identity. We are the kindness that exists within each of us. Therefore, join the goodness that exists within each person. Value. This year I will appreciate people's qualities instead of pointing out flaws. Occasionally place awareness in the beating of my heart. This is a very interesting exercise from time to time, considering that all traditions have always said that in fact our thoughts must be filtered by the heart. That's where they become more human. That way they become more and more intuitive, ever deeper, increasingly capable of generating life. In other words, at a certain moment, disidentify with these thoughts that go back and forth. Let them make noise as if they were an external noise that has nothing to do with you, and focus on the beating of your heart. Do this if you can every day for a few minutes. Focus. Try to feel that beat inside your chest. Focus on your heart, and you will feel the well-being that comes from it. It is this well-being of goodness that symbolically resides in the center of the human being. This kindness that practically overflows and invades our consciousness when we perform this act of imagination. We focus on our heart. We disassociate from thoughts and stop listening to the beats of our heart. For just a minute, do this exercise. What else? Generate peace of mind and deeply enjoy the state, finding happiness in it. Every now and then, evaluate your day and realize, well, today I did everything I had to do as a human being. Feel peace of mind, peace of being at ease with heaven and earth. And realize how peace of mind is true happiness. Search for this state. Seek to generate states of peace of mind. You'll notice that when you compare this state with the entertainments you have, with the leisure you have, you'll realize that this is the state that brings you the most happiness. To feel that you did what you should, that you are at peace with heaven and earth today. In other words, that your conscience is clear, that you deserve the sleep of the just. Savor this state of peace of mind, realizing that there lies our moment of greatest happiness. These are some recommendations for your planning for the upcoming year. I hope you can take them into consideration, because look, I can guarantee you, they have been very useful in my life. They make a big difference. Include this in your list, take it into consideration. It can bring a significant quality improvement to your reflections and planning for this next cycle. A happy new year to you, all the best in this new cycle that opens before us. A hug. Subtitle